Hey boss, does the thought of making a big visionary plan for your business feel overwhelming? I get it. Stepping out of the urgency of the day-to-day can feel impossible when you've got a to-do list to tackle. What if I told you all you need to do is clear one day on your calendar and let me help you through? That day is January 10th when I'm hosting the annual CEO Day Live, where you'll spend all day with me and other like-minded bosses as I walk you through the core exercises of CEO Day Kit to help you tackle the next year of your business and create a plan to achieve your goals. Visit beingboss.club/CEO to get CEO Day Kit now and save your spot for CEO Day Live on January 10th. I hope to see you there. Welcome to Being Boss, a podcast for creatives, business owners, and entrepreneurs who want to take control of their work and live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Emily Thompson, and in this episode, my ex-co-host, Kathleen Shannon, is back for a business bestie conversation about what worked and lessons learned from 2022 and a look ahead at the new year. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference on the show notes at www.beingboss.club. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show and share us with a friend. Having a fulfilling career and succeeding in business are what we're all here to accomplish, right? Well, if it resonates, then I've got a new show for you to check out that's all about educating you on how to best market yourself in the new digital age. It's called Big Brand Energy, hosted by Sophie Wilson, brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. With episodes on building an authentic brand and how business and online dating are the same, you'll get a fresh take on online marketing in the new year. Listen to Big Brand Energy wherever you get your podcasts. Kathleen Shannon is the co-founder and former co-host of the Being Boss podcast, joining me for the first 240-ish episodes of this show, with several one-off episodes since. Kathleen is a partner and creative director at Braid Creative, a branding agency she founded with her sister over 10 years ago. Kathleen has always lived by capturing, shaping, and sharing who she is, whether that's with a blog post, a podcast, or on social media. All right, you ready to do this, Kathleen? Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I love that you are old school recording right now.
Yeah, I have like my Apple earbuds because I had to do some crazy last minute holiday travel because of this big winter storm coming in. So I'm recording from my mother-in-law's very 90s bedroom.
Mm-hmm. You went from one decade to 2 decades later. You're usually like in a very like 70s vibe, like in your house. You just like removed yourself 2 decades, and now you're in the most 90s bedroom I think I have seen in a long hot minute. And I'm getting I
feel like
vibes.
I feel like I could rock it, but it's like I probably need another 10 years before I'd rock this specific style, but it's very like floral. Like the kind of like the tan and red and sage green striped bedspread.
Yeah.
With the flowers kind of jacquard. I think that's what the print is into it.
Yep. That nice like scrolly bed frame. Like it is, it's real. I'm loving this for you. I do think you could rock it.
Lots of pink and maroon and sage green.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the color palette. That is the palette of the 90s. Well, I'm excited that you are safe. As all the winter weather things were happening, I was thinking of all my friends who were traveling and thinking like, this sucks for all y'all. But you made a boss move, made a fast and early decision to get out of there early. And now you're settled in for a Christmas holiday.
Oh, yeah,
and that must feel good.
Good point. That was a boss move. And I think that it takes pivoting and being flexible to be a boss. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the last year and kind of maybe what's moving forward.
Yeah.
We've had different kinds of years, I think.
Yeah.
Not all good, not all bad.
No. Right? I'm excited about it. So we're recording this. If you haven't picked up the notes, we're recording this at the end of the year. So it is just before Christmas. Winter solstice was yesterday. Did you do anything for the solstice? I guess you traveled halfway across the country.
I was traveling.
Yeah. Well, I had some quiet moments yesterday and did my tarot spread and settled in. And then we had some things at the shop yesterday. So I worked at the shop. And then I was actually able to catch drinks with Autumn, Lawyer Autumn,
for
our annual sort of for every year that I've lived here, except for 2020, we've gotten together for one of the last days of work as like a little cheers and high five. And so we were able to catch up yesterday evening. So I've had a very boss couple of days where I've been connecting with a lot of our boss friends, and that has felt really nice.
But it is
fun.
Yes. I was able to get in an afternoon delight before hitting the airport.
Good. Perfect.
So you know.
So you're ready.
That's a good way to ring in the solstice.
Indeed.
Let there be light.
Absolutely. Well, so we're right before the holiday season. We're excited to get together to have this chat about what's happening or what has happened this year, what we're sort of thinking about next year, and just do a little recap like we have for so long. But I think you want to take this in an interesting direction, which I'm really excited to go in as well, and just sort of come together for what also feels like a nice annual tradition of just a check-in and share it with everyone, and hope everyone gets some, can find some things relatable or reflect on what we're talking about and have a moment to think about what has happened in your year, and maybe start getting, at least gathering some inspiration for what 2023 will hold for you. So where are we beginning this, Kathleen?
Well, let's start with the beginning of 2022. Mm-hmm. Did you have any intentions or aspirations or even set a word of the year for 2022?
Yes, for sure. So I said a word of the year. My word of the year was magic. And it was one that was coming up for me a lot towards the end of the year. And as I was doing my year ahead spread, was like very much so at the forefront. I had, some interesting magical things happening at the end of last year. So I wanted to really embrace magic. And for me, that meant like experiencing some weird shit. Like I wanted to experience synchronicities and just sort of be really aware of sort of that level of the energies around me and let some weird shit happen to me. That was my word of the year. I'm excited. We'll dive into that in a minute. But what was yours?
I didn't have one this year.
I love that, actually. I'm thinking about not having one. I'm thinking about not doing one for 2023. Okay, perfect. I'll learn your lesson. Why was it awful?
Well, I feel like I've been lacking some intention that I used to bring into everything. Like everything was infused with intention and meaning. And I don't know, it just kind of felt like a let it ride kind of year.
Yeah.
And so that's really what ended up happening. And I have learned some lessons along the way, though. And I will say that some themes came out of it. So I could sum up the year in review with a word or two.
Oh, love that.
But I didn't go into the year with a word, which is kind of interesting. And maybe that's how it's going to be. Like maybe I used to be so future and forward thinking. And that's because I was in my 20s and then 30s, building a business, side hustling, doing all the things. And this year I turned 40. And I wonder if maybe part of it is just thinking that I don't need to hustle so hard. I don't need to be so intentional because I've set up a good foundation of intention that maybe I can just kind of coast. But I always struggle with whenever I'm just coasting, I'm a Taurus, so I'll just kind of lay there.
Yep.
Like I won't make or do anything
flowers
new
under
if
the
I
tree.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Like get real chill.
So I have a thought about this. I think it's interesting that you associate being forward thinking and like driven with setting an intention. Whereas I feel like intention setting is such a sort of neutral. It can be an incredibly neutral thing. It's not like, you're not looking back. You're not pushing forward. You're just setting a tone that I think you might be missing an opportunity with rethinking how it is that you set and practice intentions, not for the purpose of like doing more or better or like whatever, but simply, just putting a lens over those, 80s dad's glasses that you like to wear.
I love them. I do think that's a good idea, like to set the tone for the year. And I'll think about that as I think of my word for 2023, which I'm determined to come up with by the end of this conversation. I don't know what pressure. It is yet. No pressure.
At least get some inspiration for it. So it's interesting that you say it though, because I, over the past like week or two, because, you know, 'tis the season for thinking about that word of the year, I have considered not setting one for 2023.
Tell me more.
And kind of similar to what you're saying can I just ride the wave? Like, do I have to put my will on everything? But as I'm talking this out, I'm also seeing I should probably consider my own mindset around it. And I'm not sold on it by any means, but I love that you're saying this because what you are experiencing is not what I want.
Right.
And I do think that if I take my own advice and just adjust how it is that I go at my word of the year or my intention for the year, I can probably get what I want out of it.
Yeah, set the tone. Set the tone for 2023.
Yeah.
I think that we were fairly burned in 2020, you know, and like setting a word of the year that year. I think that we're all a little bit in feeling a little, what's the word? Gun shy. But I don't like that word.
And just tired of being disappointed.
Yes, tired of being disappointed.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of put a kibosh on lots of thinking that we could control anything with our pure will and intention setting. That's not the case.
Yeah. But like, that's not the case. And isn't that what they want?
Yeah.
I don't know who they
Who's
is.
they?
I don't even know. But
Take them down.
Right. But for us to stop using our will to like move ourselves forward in the ways that we want, I don't know. So, okay. Then I'm back on the intention train.
Okay.
How about that? I just needed that. Thank you.
We're going to set an intention by the end of this episode.
Well, again, I love how ambitious you're being with that. We'll see. I will have some inspiration for sure. So mine was magic. Yours was none. We see how yours panned out, more or less. Mine was weird.
Yeah, you had a weird year.
I had a weird year. And a couple of really cool things happened along the way. And I did not practice it in the way that I wanted. I really wanted to get into practicing some of my rituals a little more often. There was a period of the year where I was pulling a lot of tarot cards, but there was long swaths of time where I wasn't touching my deck at all. So it actually, in a lot of ways, ended up being pretty similar to most years. However, some odd, like in terms of like a personal practice. However, some weird things happened. I think I'll start with right at January last year. I was thinking about this the other day. It came up in conversation and I was like, oh yeah, that totally happened. Where in October, I got a piece of Moldavite. Everybody just Google Moldavite. Just go into a like Google rabbit hole of Moldavite. Wore it as a ring on my hand for a couple of months in a way that most people won't. It's very energetically, it's kind of a crazy stone. And whether it's related to that or not, I maybe broke my hand, but I don't know how I did it.
Ooh.
And so in January, I couldn't use my hand for about 6 to 8 weeks. So starting right at the beginning of the year, as I had been talking to some friends of mine about how what I really wanted out of 2023 was really to spend less time at my computer, which we've talked about that for years. And I've always done I have been weaning myself off of computer work a lot over the past couple of years. And I really wanted to take a big step doing that in January or in 2023. And then I did something to my hand. I didn't hit it. There was no accident, but it bruised up, like the side of my hand bruised up, and I couldn't, like my pinky, like the like hand part of your pinky, not your pinky, but below your pinky.
Yeah, that fleshy part.
Yeah, or like even like the bone, like something happened in there where I couldn't use my hand for about 6 to 8 weeks, and guess what? I did no computer work. I started my year doing no computer work for 6 to 8 weeks, and really sort of kickstarted. And I had one of my friends goes, "Is that the hand you've been wearing that Moldavite on?" And I was like, "Stop it." So who knows? Who knows? But I did enter the year with just sort of this weird thing where I got this sort of phantom situation, trauma to a hand, and really went into the year not doing the computer work that I did not want to do, and was very excited about that. In February, we got the opportunity to open our new store. It's really crazy for me sitting here right now thinking about how this time a year ago, our new store wasn't even a glimmer in my eye. Like it wasn't going to exist this year at all. And we're in the throes of our first holiday season. So in February, we got the opportunity to take over a lease for a new space. We opened the store in May. That was a wild whirlwind. That was so unexpected, so unplanned, and happened exactly the way that I wanted it to, exactly the way that I've always wanted it to. And I've shared this somewhere else, but the space that we also got was one of only 2 spaces in this entire city that I've ever wanted. Like it was my dream space and it fell into our laps. And so the way that happened was incredibly magical for sure. And
that's also the nice thing about dreaming, like about having big dreams, is that whenever the opportunity presents itself, you can jump on it because you've been dreaming about it or fantasizing about it or thinking about it.
Yeah. For sure. And that was a space that even before Almanac was a thing, I was like, one day I want that space and I want to put something in it. Like for over a decade. Easy. So that was a really magical thing that happened for me. It felt really weird. It felt incredibly weird. And then just as the year has gone through, the way the store has worked out, and some things have happened, it's felt a little magical. Not quite on the nose in the way that I wanted, but there's these big swaths of sort of weird things that have happened that I'm totally here for. And so as I look back on it, I definitely see those interesting moments where in the moment it was just sort of a weird thing, but now I recognize it as, me embracing some weird things to happen, and they showed up.
So it sounds like what you were kind of expecting were these little magical moments, like where you're seeing the same number over and over again, or coincidences, or finding a bunch of 4-leaf clovers, like the kinds of little magical moments that you've had along the way, saying you're on the right track, kind of like a little nod from the universe. And it sounds like you just got some big ol' messages in that you broke your hand because you don't want to do as much computer work.
Yeah.
And then you got this huge opportunity that you've been dreaming about for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's funny, like those little magical moments are like, that's my brand of magic. Like that's who I am.
Yeah.
Numbers are my thing. 4-leaf clovers are absolutely my thing. Like those things are just, that's how I generally exist. So I love that I was expecting more of that. And what I got was like the real big stuff, which was a lot of fun. So that's how my year sort of panned out. I am very pleased with it. I definitely will be taking some things with me as I go. But I'm also ready to step into what's next for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have the capacity to step into what's next?
If I can also relieve some stuff back there, absolutely.
Yeah. You got to make space.
Yeah. And, whenever I think about, I love that you say that, because there is this mindset that moving into what's next is, more and bigger and better. And whenever I think about that, especially if I think about it for work and Almanac in particular, because that's where my brain is at, given the season that we're in, is stepping into what's next is actually doing a little bit less there. Like I've been starting a brick and mortar over the past, 8-9 months, but now we did it. We know, like, I know the full capacity of that store. No, maybe not. I know the baseline capacity of that store. I know what I can expect, how it needs to run, all of the things. And now I don't have to, I'm not sitting there, with my eyes open learning or, just trying to make it work or figure it out. I actually know the things. And so now I can like downshift a little bit and make all the little tweaks that just sort of refine the processes and things along the way. And I am very excited for that downshift, in which case, yes, let me take a step forward into what's next.
Ooh, that very much. What you just described, the process of not learning anything new, but refining and tweaking and just being kind of in it, really describes where I've been, I would even say, for the past 3 years with Braid. Yeah. Probably since I left being boss. And if I had to sum up this year in a word, it would be focus. And if I could impart any sort of wisdom on anyone listening, or if I had someone that was younger in their entrepreneurial journey asking me for my advice, It would be to focus. And I do think that before I go into focus, I do think that we are having a rebirth of the jack of all trades. And that there is a lot of value in that. And I have seen that, especially as it's kind of a pendulum, right? Where people were really going hard into expertise and niching 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I think that served a lot of people really well. I think that that's how you can make really good money and really feel confident and creatively competent in what you're doing, is to find expertise in it. But there is something to knowing a lot of different things, because technology is moving so fast, and having the ability to learn new things is incredibly important. But I have certainly gone from a place where I was always trying to figure it out and hustling for what's next. And I kind of just settled into where I am and the expertise that I already have, which has kind of unlocked the ability to learn new things and to narrow in my focus on what I'm creating, but through the lens of still trying new things. So what does that mean? That means I started a YouTube channel in the way that in my old model of like capturing and shaping and sharing and just kind of wanting to be visible and be out there and make something and kind of feeling like I should. And then what I really learned from that process is how I can use these newfound skills of storytelling and video editing to focus on what it is that I actually want to be making, which I don't know is like a here's what I eat in a day kind of video, or here's how I make my hair curly. I think I've learned that I'm kind of done with that lifestyle-y sharing stuff. I'm just living my life now. I'm not reading self-help books. I am helping myself in other ways, which, I do want to get into that. But like, I'm not reading business books. I'm just in my business. So, and I've learned that though, there's never an end point. Like there's seasonality to it. So probably in a couple of years, I might be reading all the business books and doing masterminds again and doing the things, but I'm in a season now of just kind of being in it and refining what I've learned along the way. So anyway, I would say that like this past year has really been about focus. And through that, I have, harvested some really wonderful things, some seeds that I have been planting for a really, really long time. I would say for a decade or more with being in braid. And so this year was really abundant and really, I felt really creatively competent. I loved the design that I was doing this year. I loved my clients, and we got some really big wins. And that felt really, really good. But one of the things I had to let go of, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I had to let go of feeling bad for having it good. That was my biggest lesson of the year.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big one.
It is a big one. And I think especially with, everything that happened in 2020, from social injustices to the pandemic in general, I really got swept up in just even the general tone of the internet, of everyone getting real riled up and real upset, and, even playing devil's advocate, or the have you thought about it from this perspective? Like I've just had to kind of let all of that go. And be okay with having it good and still doing good where I can and using my privilege for good. The fact that I can have it good, using that for good. How many times can I say good in a row?
Could probably say it a good few more times.
So yeah. Or, I know that you've kind of had not the greatest year. And so there's been a time in my life where I would be like, ugh, I can't share that I've had a good year. And I just don't think that that's true anymore, because as you and I know, whenever you're a boss and you surround yourself with people who are boss, their good years can kind of like bring you into your good year.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say all of that, because so everyone knows, Kathleen and I did not pre-work this conversation. So you didn't know this, but if I can bring magic back into it, do you know one of the words I'm thinking about for 2023?
What?
Focus. That is like literally one of my 2 words.
Of course it is.
That I am considering. So I love that you say that, because as this conversation has developed, where you are with like the tweaking is where I'm talking about going into. You're saying you need focus, and I'm like, well, good, because I recognize that as something that I need as well.
Yeah.
So that may end up being a thing. And part of that too, it's funny you bring up this like internet thing, because whenever I think about like the tone of the internet, whenever I think about one of the things that I did this year that I'm so proud of myself for doing, and I have like zero regrets, is I'm basically off the internet.
Yeah.
Right? I took Instagram off my phone, like for real, all the way. At some point in the past year, I couldn't even give you a timeline. I don't know. It's just gone. It has been for a long while. I took Twitter off the moment Elon moved in. I was like, absolutely not. So deleted that. I've not been on Twitter in, at this point about 2 months. And I don't miss any of it. And what I really don't miss, and it took me probably about a month or two of being off of it to really gauge this, is I don't miss how the internet made me feel, right? Of like constantly getting in or like needing sometimes that hit of dopamine of like, give me a funny quote or like whatever it may be, but really just all the other stuff on it that just was not a part of my life, right? Not even a part of my like semi-direct environment. Disconnecting myself from what I've always thought of as like the collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
To some extent.
Sure.
Unplugging myself from that, especially on a daily or even weekly basis, has been amazing. And I have zero regrets. And I don't anticipate going back into it at all. Maybe ever again. So that was one thing that I did this year that really helped me, because I did not have the best year. Like personal stuff was not my favorite this year. I have a teenage daughter, not the most fun thing I've ever done by any means. So I hurt my hand at the beginning of the year. I twisted my ankle at the end of the year. So I only in the past like 2 or 3 weeks have been able to walk well, pretty much. And that was spanned the entirety of the fourth quarter. And so like it has been physically the hardest year I have had, maybe ever. But getting off the internet helped me a ton. And like, this is as a business owner who's running 2 businesses that have very large online presences. I have figured out a way that I don't need to be plugged into that side of it literally at all. And I love that for me.
Yes. Amazing. And I feel like you never bought into the lie that, well, I have to be on social to make it work. I have to be on social to because guess what? Social now is pay to play. Like you're not moving the needle being on social. If anything, I still want people to think of social as an opportunity to reassure their potential dream customer or client and just to show them that you're there. But you have to think of it as another gateway or another front door to your online digital presence, but it doesn't have to be a place where you are engaging. If you're trying to think of a social strategy to gain more followers or to sell more stuff, I'm sorry to break it. It's just not going to happen unless you're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into it at this point. Yes. So I know that sounds discouraging and disappointing. What it should be is a relief. It should be a relief that you can put your efforts elsewhere. If you have not listened to our episode about word of mouth marketing, go listen to that episode because that is where it is at. It's about building a reputation. It's about building a brand. It's about having a good, valuable product or service or offering, and then just getting one person to buy it. And then getting the next person to buy it. And that's not necessarily through social media. So just don't buy into the lie.
I also, as you're saying this, I'll never forget the time we got a feedback on an episode that we were talking about. I think it might have been that word of mouth marketing episode where someone was like, someone brought up the privilege of having a business that doesn't need social media, like to us. So we're just saying this from a place of like business privilege. And if you are in a place where you're like, yeah, you two are doing well enough that your businesses are big enough that you don't need social media, don't forget that social media is the privilege. And that building a business requires you to make human connections. And what social media enables you to do is skip that, or what it has allowed you to do in the past. What we're finding is that it's not allowing you to do that in the same way anymore. So release the faux privilege of social media and get back to doing business.
Yeah, because guess what? On social media, you're the product and your business is becoming a product of capitalism that is serving someone else, not necessarily your business.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Wow. That took a
Yeah.
turn that I was not expecting.
But I love it. And I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear. Growing your business can get complicated, but the tech you use shouldn't. That's why HubSpot's CRM platform is easy to learn, use, and love. Hear it from a real boss using HubSpot to grow their business better in 2023 and get a special offer of 20% off on eligible plans at HubSpot.com/beingboss.
My name is Kelly Kimple. I'm the CEO of Adventures in Good Company. As you know, growing a business is hard, and the tools you use should help make things easier. It's important to us to have tools that work the way we do. HubSpot's CRM platform has seamlessly scaled with our needs. We were seeking a more efficient way to extend the longevity of communicating with our current customers while still nurturing the relationships of new and potential customers. With HubSpot, our team is able to work all in one place to create a customized experience for every encounter at every stage of the customer's journey. The HubSpot CRM platform makes daily tasks easier for all of our departments to use. From the marketing team to customer service to operations, our busy work gets automated, and we can spend time doing what we do best, creating experiences of a lifetime for women seeking new adventures. We're able to grow our database with free forms and landing pages that convert visitors into qualified leads. HubSpot CRM automatically organizes, enriches, and tracks each content into a tidy timeline. From there, we're able to nurture our leads with bulk emails that are easy to create and automatically optimized for different devices. With the built-in analytics, we can easily learn which emails, pages, and traffic sources are driving the most conversions. Learn how HubSpot can help your business grow better at HubSpot.com.
I want to mention, without getting into personal details, that your life was hard beyond hurting your hand and twisting your ankle. There was some really rough stuff, and we're not going to get into it, but because, it's private, it's personal. And I just want to mention this because sometimes I hear people talk about things being hard, and I want to know, well, like what? What was hard? And you mentioned a few specific things. I just want to clarify that that's not necessarily all there is to the story, and that it can be hard to balance life and business, and whenever the two are blended. So for myself personally, one thing that happened this year that I will share, a couple of really hard things that I will share specifics on is, one, I had to let go of one of my designers, and that was really stinking hard. And I was really trying to make a case for her for years because I really liked her. So kind of really feeling boss in that moment that I had to fire someone. And that's where all of the tools that we've learned along the way about being boss come into play, of having boundaries and knowing where that line is. And she finally crossed that line and we had to let her go. And then having to hire someone and really thinking about, okay, what am I going to do different with this new hire? Am I going to hire someone more senior level? I ended up hiring an entry-level designer who is my niece, which was not working for her. It's not, kind of thing that I really want to do, because then if I eventually have to let her go, that's my family, so there are big implications involved in that. It's not, we're too small of a business to have like nepotism hires. You have to be able to carry your weight, but really going with my gut there and really seeing the potential and value in her and being able to nurture that and help her grow, and doing it from a distance because I am remote from the rest of my team, has been really, really cool. But then another really hard thing that happened this year is my sister and I, who is my business partner, got in a huge fight. And we may have even gotten in a couple of fights, but there was definitely one huge kind of foundation shattering fight where I was like, oh, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean for us personally? What does it mean for us professionally? Like that kind of fight. And I came out of it really just feeling like I need to work on myself. There were definitely issues where both of us were right and both of us were wrong, or neither of us were right or neither of us were wrong. Just kind of the things that happen there, right? And I came out of it realizing that I've been defensive. Like I've been the kind of perpetual defensive little sister who always feels like none of my ideas are good ideas, and bringing that energy into my personal relationships, my working relationships, that is not serving anybody. So I think that this goes hand in hand with letting go of feeling bad for having it good, or letting go of this need to feel like I have it bad for some reason. and just letting go of some defensiveness. So you all, I finally hired a therapist. Like I did the work, which is, it's so much harder to find a therapist than you would think. It's real expensive because my insurance is, I've got a high deductible anyway, and a lot of therapists don't even take insurance. So just also acknowledging the privilege of being able to seek out mental health help has been huge. And through that, realizing how much anxiety has been on the burner from, either it's on the back burner or it's at full blast for my whole life. And realizing what that has done to, it served me well. Again, in a lot of ways, it's helped me become the kind of boss and business owner that I am, that anxiety pushing me to what's next. And anyway, all of that said, I finally got on some anti-anxiety medicine, and I've only been on it for a couple of weeks, so I can't really speak too much to it. But even through like the holiday hubbub travel, through some challenging personal relationship stuff, I'm feeling really, really good and really capable and really excited for what this could mean for me as far as just letting some of that go. I mean, if you've been listening to the show for a while, I'm constantly freaking out about dying. I'm freaking out about someone like breaking into my house mid-recording. I'm just in general kind of a little ball of, I'm in a tizzy a lot. Anyway, I didn't realize that so much of that is biological. And some of it's genetic and some of it's just kind of in my body, and that can be alleviated. So I know that medicine's not for everyone. And if you have differing opinions, I totally get it. I respect it. But for me, in this moment right now, I'm so tremendously thankful and excited and hopeful for what this means, and really thinking about what it means personally and professionally. And that's just been huge. It's been huge for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you took some steps. I hate that it's so difficult to take those steps, or that even David and I always talk about how stupid it is that health insurance doesn't actually take care of the parts of you that need ongoing taking care of, like your mental health, chiropractic. So like literally your spine, the column of your body, like all those fun things. But I love that you have taken the steps that you needed to get what help you needed. And I can't imagine you not being in a tizzy.
I know, right?
What's that Kathleen like?
What's that like? We'll see.
I'll experience it one day. That's also been a really hard part of this year, is Kathleen and I were supposed to get together 2 times this year. And my child got sick both times and we couldn't make it happen.
That teenager ruining everything.
Always cooties. Always with the cooties. Which I will say, there is like a week left, but I still have not gotten sick at all.
I think that you're one of those people that's just not going to get it.
Or anything ever again. It's been 3 years since I've had a cold of any kind. So that's also a fun thing on this side of things, which I just keep waiting for the shoe to drop, which a tarot reader once told me I need to stop waiting for the shoe to drop all the time.
Yeah, I'm talking to my therapist about that too. I'm still into tarot readers telling me what's what. In fact, my therapist is going to New Orleans, and I recommended that she go see JT, our tarot reader.
Perfect. Yep, it was JT who told me that. Stop waiting for the shoe to drop. What does that feel like? I don't even know. Well, good. I feel like we both did a lot of things this year. Again, a lot of that like small tweaking. I did open a whole store. But other than that and all other things, I feel like this has been a year of refinement. And so not exciting, like not necessarily exciting, definitely difficult when you're doing the work of refining. You are doing some work, and that is really difficult and hard.
Can I share a story about refining something?
Absolutely.
I've decided to bring back the Braid Method e-course.
Yeah.
So we have been growing, and like I mentioned, we've gotten a few big projects that are taking up even more of our time, making it so that we have had to raise our prices again. We're not working with quite as many creative entrepreneurs. So we are still doing one-on-one branding for solopreneurs, creative entrepreneurs. So if you've been wanting to reach out, don't let that stop you. But I did come back to a place where I thought I do want to help people beyond just the one-on-one stuff again. And we had this braid method e-course for a really long time. I shut it down because the work of just maintaining customer service and e-commerce and open cart, closed cart marketing, it was all just too much. So probably around the time that I sold Being Boss to you or you took over Being Boss full time, I decided to just shut it all down, right? And really just narrow in and focus on braid and the one-on-one client work. Well, this year I decided to bring back the braid method e-course to better serve a wider audience of people. It's been a while and I think it could be useful. So I opened it up and I started working on refining it. There was a lot of problematic things in there that I had written 7 years ago that we just don't say anymore, or, really gendered language, and just really cleaning it up through the lens of everything that I've learned over the past, 5, 6, 7 years. Even over the past year, we're like always
10.
Learning.
Honestly, I feel like what is the timeline on that? I feel like it's closer to 10.
Well, it has gone through iterations though. So maybe the most recent iteration was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, so I opened it up, I looked at it, and I was starting to edit it. I got probably 2/3 of the way through editing this 300-page document and realized that I want to toss it all out. So I tossed out the whole textbook part of our e-course and decided to narrow it into just the branding exercises because I think that that's the strongest part. And it felt so hard to edit out all of the stuff that I'd worked so hard to make and create and write a long time ago. But I always tell students whenever I'm reviewing their portfolios, like, don't pad out your portfolio so that you have more stuff. I would rather see 2 or 3 really great projects than have it watered down with like 5 or 6 mediocre projects. And the work, it was great at the time, but for what I've learned now and viewing it through the lens of who I am now, it wasn't as good as it could be. And I didn't have the energy to like rewrite all of it. So, and I've also shared most of the stuff that we've done there in that book on this podcast or in my blog post. But anyway, the branding exercises though were still where it's at. And it's still the branding exercises that I use with my one-on-one clients. So I took some of the content and I fleshed it out into the branding exercises from, who your dream customer is, to your own goals and aspirations, to your services and offerings, to how you're literally talking about yourself, what your elevator pitch is, what your positioning statement is, what your brand story is, whether you sell a product or an offering or a service, and brought it into like a 75-page book with over 20 exercises. And it is so good now. Like, I'm really proud of it. And then I even filmed a little teaser video for it that is on the website and used my YouTube skills to edit and put that all together. So that was really fun. And it was an iteration that was really hard to do. And it took almost the whole year. So if I learned anything else through this year, it's that some stuff just takes a lot of time whenever your focus is elsewhere, right? And my focus was really elsewhere on a lot of one-on-one client work, but I just chipped away at it and got it done, and it is launched. So if you all want to check it out, it's at braidcreative.com/workbook. I worked really hard with Corey and my team and Tara on that. That's also whenever Tara and I got in our huge fight, it was because I had finished this video and she was like, okay, do you want a little bit of feedback? And I was like, no, I'm done. And she's like, okay, well, I would just add in like these couple more clips. And yes, it would have made it so much better, but I was done. And then, it turned into like a bratty sister argument from both sides, like a full blown. Isn't that how most fights work though? Like they end up being full blown. Anyway, not to say that energy went into the book because it didn't. But just saying like creative collaborations can be really hard. And whenever you're working with someone, it's not always easy. And sometimes there are like fights about things. Yeah. Like, it's just not, I just feel like it's so important to let people know that what you see on social or on someone's website, it usually was blood, sweat, and tears behind that.
Yeah, I was going to say there are at least 2 tears behind it. At least 2 tears. I also just love that you have reiterated again this piece of braid that has been living for so long and serves a customer that I love that you're continuously going back to them and being like, you too, here's something for you too. And it is the same great piece of work that just keeps evolving and refining into its next iteration. I've seen that a lot this year with people, with bosses that I know who have been in business, for 5, 10, 15 years, who are like, the things that you create, the good things that you create always have a place in the business that you're running if you choose to keep them there. And they reiterate over and over again. I've seen people, start as a book, turned it into a course, turned it into a community, taking it back to a course. Like, there is this evolution that happens based on what people are buying on the internets. But it's something that when you take the time to create something great like that, it really does have legs that will take you a decade or more into the future.
And like, really just thinking about what doesn't change. I have a lot of people who ask me, well, can I do this and can I do that, like both at the same time? Can I have an e-course and this other thing? And I really do believe that it's best to focus on one thing at a time. And whenever I was really focusing on one-on-one client work, that's where my focus was. Whenever I was focusing on the e-course the first time around, I think I spent 6 weeks just doing that. And that was it. And so these things come in cycles and in seasons. And more often than not, it goes both ways. Sometimes you can be scattered and diffused with all the things that you're doing, but sometimes you can look and find a common denominator between all the things that you're doing. And really, that's why we're called Braid. We're looking for that golden thread that we can weave through all of the strands of your offering and your story and who you help and what you do and your personality and the content that you share, right? We're looking for that golden thread of like, what doesn't change? And so as you look at your past year and even your past years in doing what you're doing, what hasn't changed along the way? And really, you can find focus by looking at that thing. Oh, and I have a discount. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a pitch, but I actually made it whenever I made the e-course because I was like, some bosses need this. So there's a discount on the Braid Method workbook. So braidcreative.com/workbook. The code is BOSS10 for $10 off, making the price of it $69.
Oh, you did that on purpose.
I did. You're welcome.
I love it. Good job.
All right, let's talk about 2023.
Let's talk about it.
Do you have any plans? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to? Any concrete logistical or dreamings or what's going on in 2023?
The only concrete thing that I have at the moment, and I have not sat down and done my planning yet. I know at this point in the year, a lot of people have already pulled some numbers and are starting to gauge some things. I haven't. I'm working the shop immediately after recording this, and I'm working it again in 2 days, and then I can. So I'm still very much so in work mode, and I haven't had time to sit down at my computer, which is great, which is really great. So I haven't done a whole lot of planning yet. The only thing that I have really solidified for next year is at the end of February, early March, I'm doing a retreat with the C-suite to New Orleans, of course. And that I'm so looking forward to that. One of the things that I definitely learned in 2020 and continue sort of learning, especially this year as I've had a couple of trips canceled, is that one of the things that just brings me general ongoing joy is knowing that I have an adventure on the horizon. And because I've had a couple of those rugs pulled out from under my feet this year, I'm pissed about it and I'm excited to just do some things. So having a trip on the horizon and it being a boss trip, because we're still doing masterminds together. We're doing one retreat a year. It's more or less the same group. There's a couple of folks in that group who have been there in that group for now 2.5 years. So we're very tight knit. I joke often with them, but it's not a joke that I talk to them more than I talk to my mother, to my own family. So we're doing a retreat together. Other than that, nothing is really hard on the calendar, except I'm very excited to move forward in this next piece of Almanac of really refining the store. Again, this year has been about just getting it started and getting it going and throwing lots of spaghetti at the walls and, figuring out all kinds of product things and, what's going to sell and what's not going to sell and whatever it may be. It's been trying a lot of things out with the schedule, with employees, with, all the things so I can see what's going to work and what's not going to work. It has been a very experimental year on purpose. I've gone at it very intentionally. Now I know. Now I know now I have the data and I need to spend some time like looking at the data and gathering some insights from that data. But now I have all the things that I need to know what I need to do next year. And so we're already looking at some big website audit stuff happening at the beginning of the year. We're still looking at, I'm looking at doing some product development in the first quarter of the year based on what has done well this year and really refining some team things so that next year during the holidays in particular, I don't need to be in the shop quite as much because I did learn that I'm slightly understaffed. So it's really just about getting in there and I don't want to say building the business in the context of like, this is not new. Almanac's been around 5-6 years now. We've been running it, but I feel like I'm going in this year to build the business of like, now I know what it needs to be. Let's build it and do the thing. And then hopefully there's this idea that it will be replicable in some context. So maybe another store somewhere else or something. Or what we're also really doing is continuing something that we did this year. And whenever I think about in business, what really worked this year? The store, yes. But at both Being Boss and at Almanac, we put a lot of resources behind search engine optimization, which is lame. Like there is a context that is lame. Like, ew, like that is not flashy or fun. No one sees it. It's not something you're going to get an immediate return on investment on like you would a viral TikTok or whatever it may be. Like it's none of that. But let me tell y'all right now, it's working. It is absolutely working. And so we started really putting into it about 3 quarters ago. So right in the second quarter of the year. And even going through the holiday season, I see returns on it. And knowing that now we're just compounding that and moving into the new year, knowing what worked and what didn't work, really refining that process, I'm ready to win the internet.
Amazing. You quit the internet and now you're going to win the internet.
Because I stopped being distracted by the distracting parts of the internet, right? I got over the vanity metrics and those quick little hits of dopamine. And I got in there with what does it mean to actually win the internet? And it's not a viral TikTok that's around for 45 days, right? Or an Instagram that's around for about 15 minutes. Right? It's about creating great content, great pages, and it is a lot of work. It is a ton of work and strategy to make it happen. But I mean, we have a post that is winter solstice themed that was yesterday would have been, it was its big day, and it was a big day. And I can literally go through and see the sales that we made from search engine optimization that we put into play lightly a couple of years ago and really doubled down on this year. And screw Instagram, y'all. I'm playing in SEO.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's me. That's what we're doing. And I'm excited about it. I feel this year has been a year where I've talked about this several times on the Making a Business podcast, which is a private show that is available only to the Being Boss Clubhouse. I do it every month, and it is an inside look at what's happening at Almanac. So I feel like I've said all this stuff before, but most of y'all haven't heard it. Almanac this year, it was just about learning. It was about, in a way that I haven't learned in a long time. Like I haven't put myself through a scenario where like 9 months of just learning and messing up and trying my best. And because in most of what I do, I know what I'm doing. I'm just here doing it. So being in that phase was hard for me, but fun. Like I had a lot of fun doing it. And I feel like I had a really great mindset around it so that when things messed up, it was fine. We'll figure it out. Like we'll do better next time. Now going into the next year, I feel like I'm actually able to walk into it in this like power that I've gathered around myself from like doing the learning and the hard work. I feel more confident going into this year than I felt probably in 5 years. which feels really great to go into Almanac in particular and feel like I just know what I'm going to do, but also no expectations, tired of being disappointed. We'll see how it goes for sure. But in terms of like putting the things together, I'm ready to do it. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Well, I think I'm going to come to New Orleans to your mastermind retreat. I just kind of invited myself along on that. So,
well, I just always assumed there's always a bed for you, Kathleen.
So I'm going to do that. Can't wait to be in NOLA next to you again. And then my family, me and Jeremy and Fox, we're going to Japan this year. Which we're really excited about. So it'll be Fox's first really big international trip. We're looking forward to that. So personally, that's really exciting. And then professionally, I'm really looking forward to really sharing the Braid Method workbook and kind of creating a marketing plan around that. Earlier, I was saying that was exhausting to me before, but now I have some renewed energy around it. And I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. And it's funny because it's not priced to, I'm not expecting to make a ton of money off of it. I would be excited if we did, but it's priced more just to have a thing that I can put out there again, almost like a book or something like that, right? So I'm excited to get kind of out in the world again with that. Maybe I'll even try and get on a few podcasts and be able to share that and talk more about branding. But, with Braid as a business, we're just continuing to work what we've got going on. And we might be making a couple more hires, bringing our agency up to maybe about 10 people. So I'm really looking forward to what that's going to bring in this year. And I'm really just looking forward to hoping to do a little bit more work travel this year as we're post-pandemic. I say as everyone I know seems to have COVID or some sort of bug right now.
Right. As awful as it is, I have decided that I'm over it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, same.
There's nothing I can do anymore. I'm going to live my life. Sorry, not sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm also over being paralyzed by the potential of being disappointed. That was really holding me back for a while. Just, I wasn't making any plans because I would rather make no plans than be disappointed. So that's been kind of a lesson over the past 3 years is that you got to make plans. Even if you're going to get disappointed because you got to, shoot for the stars, right? So, really, really looking forward to this next year. I have been thinking about my intention though, and I would love some more synchronicities and little magic moments. I don't need any big magic moments. I just need some little
careful
magic.
What you wish for.
I just need some little magic moments. I love those little hits along the way.
Yeah.
But I do think that whenever I think about my word of the year, and I was mentioning this on Instagram stories yesterday, do you miss watching my stories, Emily?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I haven't even thought about them one time. I just miss you, Kathleen. I don't miss your stories. I miss you.
Thank you. Okay, so anyway, I was on my Instagram stories talking a little bit about us recording this today and thinking about what my word of the year is. A few people, I did kind of an Ask Me Anything, and a few people asked me what my word of the year is going to be for next year. And again, after not having had one this year, I don't know if I wanted to do it, but you convinced me that I need to do it. So I think that the tone that I'm going to set for this year is kind of a tone of yes. Yes, I'm in a yes year. There have been no years, and that's been really good, but I think I'm in a yes year. So the word is yes.
I love that. Okay. That's beautiful. I recently did an episode with a guy named JJ Peterson from StoryBrand, who I've spent some time with. He's fab, and he has a really great perspective around saying yes, that I think you might, if you are looking for something to listen to at any point, I don't know when it's coming out, who knows in the context of this one, but he is a yeser, and it has served him incredibly well. And it's a really fun story to hear. So a year of yes, that feels beautiful to me, Kathleen. I feel like I haven't seen you open to yeses in a hot minute.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see.
I'm going to go the exact opposite direction.
Mm.
And I think, this is like a little wink from the universe going, focus might be where I actually need to be. And I need to let go this traumatization of words of the year and how they tend to come back and bite you in the ass just a little bit. Right. One way or the other, where like, yeah, I wanted magic, but not to be like physically debilitated.
Right.
Right. To help me do what it is that I wanted to do. But so who knows? But I think that focus is going to be, I'm going to roll that one around in my brain for a couple of days and see. But that felt like a nice little universe wink, I think. And I think it would serve me well with what it is that I'm moving into.
I love it.
Look at us doing it. Look
That's
at us
all
doing
I've got.
it.
We're going to do it. We're going to have some words. We're going to be boss. We're going to do
it. Checklist for the year. Just those two things and snacks.
We're going to eat some snacks. We might meditate. We might do some yoga.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. All of it. Lots of walking. Always.
Lots of walking.
Plenty of hydrating.
We're going to stay on top of our maintenance of our bodies.
Absolutely, because we're old enough now that we require that ongoing, very purposeful maintenance. Get some blood work, check our hormones, take all the meds, everything that needs to happen. We are here. Vitamins. Are you taking fish oil?
Oh, for sure. Always.
Yeah. Right? Okay, love that. Well, perfect. Well, Kathleen, one Merry Christmas, happy winter solstice, all the things.
Happy winter solstice and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, let's do it. I look forward to hanging out with you many times in person and around here over the new year.
I cannot wait.
Until then, go shake that 90s bedroom. Love it. Okay, last question, actually.
Oh.
Really, because we got to. What's making you feel most boss?
What's making me feel most boss right now is, making that quick decision to change my flight. Making quick decisions and just owning it and going with it really does make me feel boss. But then also being a literal boss and this kind of ongoing maintenance that I've put into my new hire, Gabby, is also really making me feel boss. And one of the things that I'm doing with her, I always like to share the literal actual thing I'm doing is I set up a standing meeting every single day for 15 to 30 minutes with her. And we talk about personal stuff. We talk about professional stuff. I'm reviewing her work and micromanaging it a little bit to kind of train her into being a good designer. And it's going really, really well. And it makes me feel like a literal boss.
Yeah.
How about you? What's making you feel boss lately?
I think there is that literal boss piece for sure. I mean, I think I've shared around here, Almanac is now 13, 14 person crew, whereas literally this time last year, it was me, David, and one sales associate in the shop. That's all. So just the team growth that we've done there has been amazing. And I some of my big projects as I move into the new year is, building out processes for new employee reviews and and thinking about how it is that I can nurture both relationships, but also, professional future into the folks who are in the store and stuff. Like my brain is in that a lot in a way that it never has had to be before. And so being a literal boss does feel boss because I love that I'm sending people into the world to with my fingerprint on them, not physically. That's abuse.
That would be weird.
But then also one of the things that I've been working on a lot over the past couple of months and has become, the doctor recently asked me, what did he say? What brings you joy? And I was able to just quickly spit off about 5 things. And he was like, you would be surprised at how many people come in here and literally cannot answer that question. Yeah. And I was it doesn't really surprise me actually. But I know what brings me joy. And I know that there are things that I can do when I need to do them. And so whether it's reading books or, gardening or, a nice dinner or good view or whatever it may be. I know those things for myself. And that makes me feel boss too.
That's my favorite
I know what makes
answer.
Me happy.
You know what makes you happy. Do more of that.
So I'm not on the computer because I'm reading books on the couch.
Yes.
That's not true. I wish that were true. I do those things separately.
I was thinking about how you do read books on your phone, which I feel like is the next.
No, I got a Kindle.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
a couple years ago. So I can't do that anymore. That blue light. Also, I think blue light is really getting to me these days. I feel old. My brain feels old.
I am so sensitive.
Yeah.
To light, and especially late at night lately, I'm really sensitive. So even I got into my mother-in-law's last night, and she has those really bright white lights, and I've complained about them before. She was even like, I tried changing out the light bulbs, and I just couldn't do it, whatever.
Aww, yeah.
And I was like, it's okay. I'm the one with the issue, not you. But I got in late last night, and I had to unscrew all these light bulbs because it's not just one blue light, it's 4 of them at like 300 watts. I mean, very bright.
Yeah.
My eyeballs, they're sensitive.
That's so funny. Kathleen used to dog me for how I would walk around my house in the dark.
Yeah.
Or just like a hotel room or whatever. Like I never turn on lights. So this is very entertaining to me. But I also know those blue ones are really harsh. I also look forward to a future Kathleen that travels with her own light bulbs.
Okay. I did almost bring this tiny little, I have this amber reading lamp, and I almost threw it in my bag. And I was like, no, I was trying to pack light, whatever.
Yeah.
This thing is tiny. And then I was like, oh, I should have brought that tiny light bulb. I'm so sensitive to it. But I do like really warm. So I have the hue lights that you can change the temperature. And I like them really warm and low, but lots of them, like lots of lamps around my living room. I'll tell you what. It feels magical, especially around dark winter solstice time, to just have these warm pops of light. It will change your life.
Well, are they all on timers?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good. Because that's also like if everyone doesn't have timers on your low warm lamps, you must.
And they're all on one switch too. So I can even like turn them all off and on at the same time with one switch.
Perfect. Yep. Same. So I'm not always dark in my house at night, but same with the low warm lamps. Everywhere.
Low warm lamps makes me feel boss.
Indeed. It makes me happy.
Makes me so happy.
Makes me happy. Well,
but more than that, I think the blue lights make me angry.
Yeah. They literally hurt my brain.
Ugh.
So I'm just making an excuse. I'm like, oh, it's the lights.
It probably is.
Probably is. Okay. Let's wrap this one, Kathleen. This has been a treat. We digressed real far, real fast.
Sure did.
This has been a treat. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right, boss, because you're here, I know you want to be a better creative business owner, which means I've got something for you. Each week, the team at Being Boss is scouring the news, the best entrepreneurial publications, and updates and releases of the apps and tools that run our businesses, and is curating it all into a weekly email that delivers the must-know tips and tactics in the realms of mindset, money, and productivity. This email is called Brewed. We brew it up for you each week to give you the insight you need to make decisions and move forward in your creative business. Check it out now and sign up for yourself at beingboss.club/brewed. That's beingboss.club/BREWED. Now, until next time, do the work, be boss.
Yeah.